work as hard as you can, sacrifice family time. Now you got the millennials and the Gen Zers. They're coming up and they're going, no, wait a minute, that's not who we want to be. I think the younger generation has much less patience. I think that we need to have a clear path for them.
You can now also get a job in the morning. You only have the summer to work, so you can get another job and you can earn more money. It's like, oh, no. I don't want to burn myself out.
I don't care about money at all. I care about freedom. There are nuances that will help an employee be successful. Make the business, the process right. It's your job to make it so that your employees can be successful. Take every obstacle out of their way. They have the best chance of being successful. 95% of them will succeed if you put them in a position to succeed. Nobody wants to fail.
Thank you all for joining us for another episode here of the Lift Your Shop podcast. Today we have some amazing guests with us. We have Cecil Bullard, CEO and founder of the Institute for Automotive Business Excellence, along with newcomer Jimmy Leah, VP of Business Development and for the Institute of Automotive Business Excellence. So thank you guys both for being here with me today.
Thank you.
Here.
Yeah. All right. So we're going to dive in terms of the nitty gritty of what's going on in the industry in these days, but primarily in terms of maybe a little bit of a youth movement and how we can resonate with the youth and millennials and whatever other labels we have for the different age groups as newer age brackets come into play here. I honestly don't know all the letters that were thrown in here, but obviously there's a shift that's taking place in the industry, and so we're going to need to touch on how us as an industry, with the industry being a little bit older, how it can now resonate with a younger demographic and really move into this next wave. So yeah, I'm excited to be able to have this conversation, guys.
Well, I can I start it off with my story here first?
Oh my. Oh yeah.
I know, right?
Go ahead.
So here's an interesting scenario. And I know my son is motivated by money, but it was a scenario that I really didn't get. I don't understand it, but okay, whatever. So he gets a job. He's working at a donut shop, and he works from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., 4 hours a day. I was like, oh man, that's great. Congratulations. This is wonderful. You can now also get a job in the morning. I mean, all summer. You only have the summer to work. So you can get another job and you can work and you can earn more money. He's like, oh, no. I don't want to burn myself out. Okay. I didn't get it. I was like, okay. I mean, you only have so many weeks in the summer. Don't you want to earn more money? I mean, I feel like I failed that he's not motivated by money, but he's not. So it is what it is. But I put that out there to say, what are they motivated by? Because I can tell you story after story of other shops where the technicians just aren't putting out the hours. Mm-hmm. We need 40 hours a week, and they're putting out 15 and 20 and 25.
I had clients in the office yesterday. And, we have clients here in Utah. We have clients all over the United States and Canada. And these clients happen to be in Salt Lake, and they live this way. So they come in and talk to me face to face. Kind of cool. But, it was husband and wife. They own a shop in Utah. And the wife was very upset because they're trying to hire, and they've been ghosted multiple times by people that booked an appointment to come in and talk to them and never showed or whatever. And she's very upset by this. And I think that there are a lot of shop owners who are like, I can't find out how to motivate that guy. I mean, I pay him lots of money and we have these bonus programs, and it isn't getting what I want from that person. And I think the problem is that we have a bunch of old people in the industry. The average age of a shop owner right now is 59 years old. Mm. And the majority of the owners are probably on the high side of the Gen X if they're not boomers. And so boomers were raised by the greatest generation that they knew they were going to work, really hard. They knew that they had to work a long time before they would get promotions. I'm going to put in a good 20 years before I could even have the opportunity to be the boss. And now you have the Gen Xers and the millennials and the Gen Z, and the Gen Xers were raised by the boomers who it's still that like, okay, get 3 jobs. When I was in high school, not only did I go to high school, but I had 2 jobs, and in the summer I had 3 jobs. And if I could have had 4 jobs, I would have had 4 jobs. There's a great skit. I think it's Saturday Night Live, but it might have been one of the others where it's like the Jamaican family, man, I got 5 jobs, I got 7 jobs, and they're all talking about how many different jobs they have.
Yeah.
But that's kind of a boomer thing, right? I mean, work as hard as you can, sacrifice family time, you know. But now you got the millennials and the Gen Zers, and they're coming up and they're going, no, wait a minute, that's not who we want to be. And so now you got boomers painting everybody with a broad, well, all millennials are lazy, or all millennials are this, or they don't want to work. That's not true. They have motivations. They don't mind working, but I believe they want to work for something that means something to them. It's not like I just want to work hard and fix cars. They want to make a difference, etc. And if we don't figure this out as boomers or Gen whatever, and we don't make some adjustments on how we try to motivate or how we pay people even, then we're probably in trouble, because the old ways, the ways that motivated my generation, a good kick in the ass and etc., in a healthy paycheck, that doesn't work on the younger generation. And I don't know how many conversations I mean, I work with currently myself 30 plus clients, and I probably have 15 conversations about how to motivate employees, and why aren't employees motivated by the same things I'm motivated by. Right. And so, Kelsey, I'm going to say you're in the younger generation. I don't know. I'm putting you in the millennials. What motivates you? Why aren't you like me, who, knows that you're going to work forever and work hard, and that's okay as long as you get paid well? Why is that different for you?
That's a great question. And so yes, I think I fall under that millennial bracket. I typed it in Google to find out if I was or not. And Google says yes, so I assume they're right. But obviously, I mean, painting a fine brush across the entire scope of millennials wouldn't be fair in terms of that
idea,
that assumption and mindset. But I think what is a heavy driving factor in this day and age is just like the kind of the growth of like the tech industry of companies that kind of just came to be, and thus all that job opportunities and like people seeing like that comparison of social media really online and seeing, I thought they just started that job, and I saw they just got promoted to being a director, or like you just see these things happening at such a rapid pace that then people are like reflecting internally on like, wait, is what I'm doing even good enough? Am I even working for the right place? Like, should I be doing something else and doing something different? And so I think that's where us in our age is like for me, I was like in high school when Facebook was like, that's when it started, and like it was like heyday, and like everyone's getting it, and like, oh, look at, and that's when like likes and like all the like the poking, or I don't even know, the little random widgets and things that were there. But then soon after that, as you're going through college, you have this easy access to see what is going on with everybody's life, and naturally, like it's just so easy now to compare. Whereas before, you would have to like put an effort to like see how your peer was doing, and like, or even what they're doing. Like, who knows where they're even living? Like, you don't know all those things, and nor do you care, because you're caring about your own personal thing and growing maybe your own business or your own job and that security there. Nowadays, I think everyone's comparing. And it's like, well, I know what I'm doing is not good enough to me, and that's why then they start feeling bad about what they're doing.
So from like my perspective, I think so as a comparison, I love comparisons and stories, and so when I was young, high school, I wanted to play professional basketball. That was everything to me. I went to college. I was sure I was going to play ball. I was playing with the guys that were on the team, and I was going to walk on, and then I got injured and I didn't end up playing ball. But I think when you think about like YouTube or Twitter or whatever, it's like I'm going to be an influencer, right? Everybody wants to be that influencer. Everyone wants to be Mr. Beast, right?
Mm.
I'm going to be Mr. Beast, right? That's easy. Look, he's doing it.
Yeah.
And yet when you think about like professional basketball, of all the guys that were in high school that played basketball that wanted to play, how many of those actually played college ball? And then of all the college ball guys that played, how many of those actually played professional basketball? It's really a very small percentage, right? That hit that elite kind of thing. You think about movie stars, you think about musicians, right? You think, I have sons. They both had bands. I've got a son right now. He's doing his thing on Twitter, and he's great. He's fantastic. I think he's wonderful, but he's not popping he doesn't have enough likes, right?
Mm.
So I think I think the younger generation has much less patience for not moving ahead and not having that kind of success that they want to have right away. And I think that we need to have a clear path for them. I think that we need to have kind of clear what do they call them, posts, guideposts, or
Milestones.
Here's milestones
Yeah.
along the way, so that we can show them that they're actually making progress. And I think that bonus plans, in my experience, up until probably 10 years ago, if you put a bonus plan in place where somebody could earn another $1,000 a month, and if they worked a little harder, they would work a little harder. But I think now $1,000 a month doesn't get it done. I think we have to look at bonus structure and bonus plans in a different way. And it might be that the guy gets every other Friday off. We have shops. I have quite a few shops right now. If you think about it, maybe 8% of the shops that we work with are now 4-day-a-week shops. And they're attracting top quality talent, young people. And by young, I'm talking, 25, 35, even up to 40 or so. I still think that's young at my stage of the game. But they're attracting these younger people who are very willing to work exceptionally hard because they're 4-day-week shops, and these guys get 3-day weekends. And so I think we have to stop. I don't know. I think we have to look at a bonus structure in a different way. We have to say it can't be about money. We have to give them 4 or 5 options. I would say, like, if you got a bunch of old guys working for you, they're more concerned with how am I going to retire. So building a great retirement plan for them, putting a lot of money away.
Yep.
But if you got a young person in and you say, hey, I've got this great 401k for you, they're like, I'm never going to get old, so I don't need that.
I hear a lot of
So
people ask what a 401k is. That we're like, well,
Yeah,
what even is that?
What's an IRA? I don't know, man. So it's a retirement plan where you could actually have lots of money when you retire. But when I was in my 20s, I was never going to be 60. I never even thought about that. And when I got to be in my mid 50s, I was like, holy crap, there's a light at the end of the tunnel now. There's an end to the tunnel, right? And you start thinking differently. So I don't know, Jimmy, we're dealing with this kind of this shift I think in the whole industry. What do you think about it?
I see it. I see it all the time at shops all across the country. In fact, I'm thinking of one up in Montana. These techs are putting out only 20 hours a week, but we need to hit 40. And the shop owner is just frustrated with, how do I do this? How do I get my guys to hit 40 hours a week? He can go out there, the shop owner can go out and in 2 days put out 40 hours of work. He just can't physically do it anymore because the body wears down. But he just runs circles around these guys. And I think, Cecil, you hit it on the nail. You've got to have 4 or 5 different options. And you've got to get to the point of what actually motivates these guys. A lot of these technicians have old pickup trucks. So his idea was, okay, you know what, guys, I'll tell you what, let's go down to the dealership. Let's pick out a new to you truck. Let's get you a a new to you truck so that you've got a great new truck to go hunting and fishing and four-wheeling and snowmobiling, all those activities that you want to do. He thought that would help to motivate him. Well, nobody really wanted to do it.
No, he wanted a truck. I mean, I want
Well,
a nice truck, but they
Yeah.
don't care about that necessarily, right?
and he has a nice truck.
Yeah.
So his service advisor wasn't as on top of the numbers, just kind of loosey-goosey. And he says to his service advisor, you know what, I'll help you to buy a house. And they talked about it and they said, okay, this is probably the price level you want to be at. Well, they went out and bought a house at a little bit more than what he would have felt comfortable with, but that's okay. This is your house. This is your deal. That's cool. Well, I'll tell you what, that debt. So there's two things that motivate people. You're either motivated by debt, or so you're motivated by fear or by love. And debt is one of those fear things that really motivates people. That's a major motivator, is that fear, is that debt. And since this person got into this house, since they now have this mortgage they have to pay, since then they are on top of all the numbers, and his business has grown exponentially because the service advisor is paying attention to the GP dollars, the labor, the parts, and those kinds of things. So now the challenge that he's facing is, how do I motivate my technicians? Is it trucks? Is it money? It's not money. It's not trucks. Is it gift cards to dinner? It's not gift cards to dinner. Is it a new fishing pole, a new scope, a new rifle? What is it?
Mountain
By the way,
bike
it's not.
and the time to ride it and the place to go ride it in. I have great respect for the younger generation because I've raised 4 kids and now we're doing grandkids. I know about my children who are Gen X and millennial. I know my children, all 4 of them, I couldn't get them to do crap that I wanted them to do. Period. I mean, if they didn't want to do it, they weren't going to do it, and they would suffer any, we couldn't beat them. They wouldn't let us do that.
Yeah.
But they would. You could ground them. You could do almost anything, and they're like, okay, old man, so what?
Yeah.
But when they found something that they were interested in, that they cared about, you couldn't hold them back. I mean, there was nothing you could do to get it to stop them. So I have great respect for that, right? That kind of stubbornness of, but how do we find that thing for them that helps them to get that motivation so that they will see the relation, and then we have to show them the relationship between performing in their job and getting what they really want, right? I think that's a key. And there's always this weird thing too when you ask someone, like if I Kelsey, you and I, we haven't spent a lot of time together. You don't necessarily know me exceptionally well. You don't necessarily trust me. Maybe you've heard some things about me in the industry or whatever, and maybe in our first conversation, like, oh, Cecil's pretty impressive, or maybe you weren't. I don't know. Maybe you got off one.
No.
But if I asked you, hey Kelsey, what really means the most to you, right? What really yanks your crank? Would you tell me the truth? Because you don't, I think we have to build relationships with our people. And I don't know, there's always a couple of thoughts of management. Let's all be best friends, or let's not be friends. I'm going to be the boss. I don't know. Maybe neither one is right. Maybe there's some blend, but I think we have to get to know our people and build enough trust with them that they understand. You're right. I want you to perform because that's how I put money in the bank. And then I feel comfortable when there's money in my bank. And then I'm able to help you and do more things for you. Right. And if I don't build that trust, then they never really open up and tell me what yanks their crank or what makes them happy. And then I think we got to quit being shocked at what makes them happy. Well, geez, I'd really like to only work 4 days a week. Oh my God, you only want to work 4 days a week? What are you, lazy?
Yeah.
God, all millennials are lazy. Oh, please don't cut that out and make that a point that Cecil said that, because that's not what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, not at all.
No, it's we say these things and we think these things because that's what we're thinking in our head, but that's not necessarily the truth. My kids, they'll work 18 hours a day doing something that means something to them, and they won't work 5 minutes on doing something I want them to do that they don't give a crap about. It blows my mind. I'm constantly kind of surprised about that. We have a location here, and we spent I don't know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars and hours, building this really beautiful inside offices, training rooms, kitchen, so that our customers, when they come in, they feel good and comfortable. And I'm really excited, like, oh, we get to build another room, or hey, we're doing this project. And Kent, who's our chief operations officer, my son, who really does most of the hard work in the company today, he's like, I'm not doing any more projects, Dad. I got enough on my shoulders.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, wait a minute. I love us working together on these projects, right? But that's not his thing. And if that's the only thing I have to offer, then he and I don't have a relationship. So my oldest son, a long time ago, he was 17 or so. He had a band. He was getting into some, a little weed, a little alcohol, hanging out with his band, etc. And him and I were drifting apart, completely. And so I had a lot of hard nights where I was like, how do I reach this kid? How do I connect with him? Because we're not connecting. And so one day he's like, hey, I'm going fishing with my buddies. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. I wish he was fishing with me. So a couple of weeks later, I said, okay, we're going down to Sportsman's Warehouse or whatever I said, you're going to teach me how to fish. We're going to buy fishing poles and gear. And I had the money to do that. And we went down, and I don't know what we spent. I don't care. We bought fishing poles and gear and stuff. And then we went out night fishing together. And, when you're sitting on the edge of a lake or a river, and it's just the two of you, and it's 1 a.m, and the fish aren't doing anything, you got nothing else to do but talk. And that's how I built a relationship with him, because I found something that was interesting to him. And then I didn't say, let me show you how to fish. I said, you show me, you teach me. I've been fishing my entire life. I didn't necessarily need him to teach me how to fish, but it was something he could do where we could build a relationship back. And today, I don't know, he's 36 or 37. We have a great relationship because of me finding something that was interesting to him and being able to connect with him on that thing, right?
Yep.
We were able to connect there, so we were able to connect in other places. And I think as business owners, as human beings, frankly, we need, especially with the people that are our family. So, and I'm not talking about my family, my 4 kids and my 7 grandkids and my wife. I'm talking about my business family, the people I work with. I'm with more than my wife or my kids. We need to reach out and connect on a level that they can connect with us. And I think sometimes it's let them be the expert in an area, right? And I think a lot of times, even especially me, I'm supposed to be like the shop guy that knows everything about everything. And I go into a conversation and I'm like taking over. And I think I need to learn how to sometimes shut up and go, okay, well, what is it that's important to you? And figure that out so I can connect better with people, right?
Yes, absolutely.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think you're hitting the nail on the head for a lot of this generation. I mean, they're looking for that, like, gratitude from a higher up person, because again, they don't typically see that or feel that. And especially, I mean, in this day and age now, everything is like so online, even more so. Like, for a while, we weren't even able to see each other in person.
Yeah, personal connection is almost
and
gone.
so like that, them just seeing, like, from their peers, especially from someone of superior in terms of role, giving them, showing, like, telling them you did an amazing job, like something just like that alone, they're like, holy moly, this is going to be a person I work for. That's worth way more than that raise. Because in a sense, for the money, like, I mean, money for me absolutely was important. Like, I grew up and I did finance in corporate tech. And so that's where I was like, I mean, knowing finance, if I didn't know that money was important, then that'd be it. I probably would have failed at my job a long time ago. but that's where for most they don't quite understand the value of money, because they're just like, well, I mean, I can still buy all the things I need. They're not running into these big hurdles of like, okay, the mortgage is this month, and they're just not like that acceleration of like family is just not quite there, I think, for most of them. And then so then from there they're like, okay, well, what means a lot to me? Like, yes, if I'm given more family time, perfect.
Yeah,
But
I think it's really interesting that, generationally, like I remember my father, I worked for him for years, 17 years. I ended up leaving because I couldn't get anything out of it. I couldn't get the satisfaction, the joy that I needed, even though I loved working with my dad. And I remember telling my dad more than once, I'd say, hey, Dad, you need to go out and pat these guys on the back, tell them they did a good job. And my dad was like, they get a paycheck, don't they? That was his answer to all of that. And I think, could you imagine like some of these guys in their late 50s, early 60s, just going out and putting their kind of arm around the guy and or gal and saying, man, you did a great job for us this week. I just wanted to say thank you. No money involved, no nothing, just a genuine, I noticed that you contributed, that you worked hard. And maybe they weren't as successful as we wanted them to be. Maybe they were only doing 32 hours and we need 40, but holy smokes, they're trying, they're putting effort in and etc. If there's you can win more, whatever it is, you can you get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar, right? There's that's an old saying. The young people are going, what's he saying? But it's you know I can get more from people by being nice and helping them feel good about themselves than I can about then putting force on them and saying you have to do this or I'm going to fire you. We need to. It wouldn't it be great if all the young people thought like all the old people and they were all interested in money and we could motivate them with another $1,000 a month and they would do exactly what we want? Wouldn't that be great? Yeah. But then it wouldn't be fun, right? It wouldn't be growth. It wouldn't be change. And it's not, I don't think it's, I mean, yes, I think so. I was at another shop owner recently in the Minneapolis area. This guy does, I don't know what they did. They're going to do between two shops, they'll do about 9 million. And one's an 8 bay shop and the other's like a 6 bay shop. So, the 8 bay shop did 520 or 570,000 last month. And you go in there and you see everybody's just kind of doing their job and working. There's not a lot of wasted time. Nobody's standing around jaw jacking or, hanging out at the water cooler or whatever. They're all working. They're working hard. So I'm kind of having this conversation with the owner and I'm going, do we need to change? And his answer is, well, if you build the culture, you're going to attract the kind of people you want in that culture. And I kind of agree with that. I kind of also think, God, how come they don't listen to what I have to say? Don't they realize that I've kind of been through it and I've done it and I've already taken the licks? But then I also think if I didn't take the licks, I wouldn't know what I know. Right. And so do we need to adjust some of our expectations and what we do to service the younger generation, the people that we're bringing into our companies to work with, or do we try to force them to fit into that mold that we fit into? And I would say, God, I don't know if there's a one answer. I think it's kind of yes, right? We have to make adjustments to them. They need to make some adjustments to us because, frankly, as a business owner, if I'm not getting what I need to out of my business, then I'm going to start terminating people or doing different things. And as an employee, if I'm not getting satisfaction out of my job, I'm not staying. So let's see who can be the hardest headed and we'll all go down together, or maybe we can get together and figure out, how do we make it fit for you and fit for me too? Right.
Yeah.
I think some guys are working hard on that, but I think as an industry, we still have too many old people. The younger people, I don't know, they don't, maybe it's because they don't have the experience. I don't know, but to me, it seems like they're more closed off than the older people. And yet the older people are also closed off just in a different way. So who changes, if it's a husband and a wife and you're fighting all the time, who changes? Do you say my wife has to change, or do you say the husband has to change, or is it both of us, right?
Mhm.
That need to change so that we can get along, so we can have a happy life together. I think it's got to be both.
Absolutely. But
Yeah.
I think the focus needs to, like, obviously the auto repair industry is an industry of service. Like you're
Yeah.
serving the community. But I think at times, like internally, it's like forgotten that you also need to serve your team and serve your employees. Like that there's always this idea of like hierarchy chart, like I'm at the top, so they should be listening to me. But really, I had a great interview like just recently where like it was an older gentleman that is an owner of 12 locations, but he has a really good mentality of like he flips the pyramid upside down. Like he's at the bottom. Like yes, he is the owner, but he's just there to serve and like whatever
True,
I can do to help and answer.
true leaders are servants.
Mhm.
If you're not a servant, you're not a leader, and your number one client is not that guy that's bringing his car in and paying you $2,000 to fix it. Your number one client is the person that's fixing the car. Your internal staff. It's funny because it's like, is the customer always right? There's some guys out there that tell you yes. I would tell you no. Is the customer more important than the employee? I'm always going to side with my employees.
Mhm.
And if I lose a customer, I don't like that, but okay. If I've done my job right, built the right culture, we could get into mission statements and core principles in your company and all of that. If I've done all that right, then I have staff that is honest. I have staff that is trying their best to take care of my customer. And I know that when a customer complains, I might say, "Oh, that's really, I'm so sorry you felt that way. Let's figure this out." But I'm not instantly going, "That darn employee, why did they do this?" Trust in a relationship. I'll walk into a shop I walked into recently, probably the worst culture of any shop. The owner had bought it about a year before. The wife was doing most of the running. He ended up coming in because the company wasn't getting where they needed to go. And so I walk in and I'm talking to the service manager, the guy who's supposed to be managing everything, who's not. And he tears down the technicians. These guys suck. They're all horrible. And then he goes, and that guy shouldn't be here. The owner, he's pointing to the owner. He doesn't belong here. And he's ripping the owner right and left. And then you talk to the techs and they're like, those service advisors are idiots. That owner's an idiot. And you talk to the owner and the owner's like, I don't know what's going on, man. I'm trying to, and I can't get anything. And it's just this unhealthy culture that you've created in your business. And we've worked with them now and we've turned that all around. And in fact, the owner recently told me, he said, 6 months ago, he said, I hated going to work. He said, today, I love going to work. It's a different culture. We had to get rid of some people.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I think sometimes we're very, I don't know, we see an employee and that employee's ruined. And maybe we ruin them, but you're like, oh, I can save that guy. I know that guy was a good guy when he came in a year ago or 5 years ago. And unfortunately, when you've ruined an employee, even if it's your fault, you can't keep a rotten apple in the bunch, right? You got to get rid of it. We had to change some of the people. We still have about half the staff, but it's a completely different place now because everybody cares about each other. They still have customers that complain. They still have cars that kick their butt, but it's a different attitude towards all that because we all believe we're doing the best that we can and working hard to succeed together instead of why is that rotten SOB doing this to me?
Mhm.
And so building, so we could go to like fundamentals of I think my client that said, if you build it, they will come. I think in a way they're right. If I create a great culture in my company where people can feel fulfilled and feel like their needs are maybe not always reached, but important, right? So, Jimmy, I don't know everything Jimmy wants. He's a relatively new employee, although I've known Jimmy for a long time. Um,
It's a
and
log
Jimmy and I
job
have,
interview.
yeah, yeah, I don't know, 10 years, 12 years. But but if I think Jimmy is trying to take my company down, and one of my clients complains, oh, Jimmy called me and he called me on the wrong number and blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go like, oh, geez, I'm really sorry. I'll tell him not to do that again. And then I'm going to go to Jimmy and I'm going to go, hey, somebody complained. Don't worry about it, man. I know you're cool. Because I understand Jimmy. I know Jimmy, right? And if I need to understand what Jimmy needs out of my company, because ultimately, if I can't give him that, then he's in the wrong place, right? And then Jimmy needs to understand how what I need from him, so that he can provide that, so that I can give him what he needs, right? But if we don't communicate, if we have this adversarial relationship, that's the boss and that's the bad guy and that's the customer and, excuse me, that's my employee and he's the bad guy or she's the bad guy, then we can't come to that. We can't come to terms, right? And we might, Jim, I don't know, Jimmy and I might at some point, I might say, Jimmy, I can't give you what you want. He'll go, well, that's too bad. But at least at that point, we can part knowing we did our best, right? For each other.
Yeah.
We need to rethink. I think I want to make very clear here. We need to rethink pay systems, bonus programs, and it can't be all about money because money is what matters to me, right? And by the way, I don't care. I don't care about money at all. I care about freedom. I'm a freedom motivated guy, and when I have more money in the bank, I feel more free. So that's the only relationship that money has to me, is it allows me to do things that I want to do and feel unencumbered, right? And we need to figure out what, I don't know. Jimmy, can you make sense of this? Can you maybe clarify or say, okay, maybe there's a how-to here now, right? How do I do this?
Yeah, there absolutely is. There's a couple of old sayings that I'll throw out here, and one is that either you change the people or you're going to have to change the people. And the first time I heard that, I was like, what? What? You're going to have to change the people. How do you change somebody? Coaching, training, mentoring, working with them. And if after multiple effort, energy, training, it's not working, then you've got to change the people. You've got to pull in people that are going to work with you and build your company, build your business. So you've got to either change the people or change the people. With coaching and training, oh my gosh, how am I going to invest all this money into my employees? And how am I going to invest into my technicians, my service advisors? What if they leave me?
Yeah, but if I don't invest, they're going to leave
What
me
if
anyway.
they don't leave you?
Yeah.
What if you're stuck with the scum of the earth because you never trained them? And they're not the scum of the earth. They are great and wonderful people that are going to help you to build your business. So training them is paramount. Having a map, having a guide, having a milestone, a destination. This is where we're going. Good leaders will be able to paint that picture of where we're going, what it looks like, what it's going to feel like, smell like, what it's going to feel on our backs, on our skin, how we're going to walk, what kind of shoes we're going to wear. This is going to be awesome and amazing. And this is where we're going. This is how we have to build that to grow to that spot. Invest in your people, because that training will pay off dividends exponential compared to what you try to do solo.
But I'm going to throw a wrench in here because
you can't do it solo.
Okay. Well, I'm going to throw a wrench in here because I get this complaint. I provide the opportunity for training and education, and my employees won't take the bait. Mm-hmm. I even have bonuses where they can make an extra $2 an hour if they go to this class, and they won't go to the class. My boomer self goes, then fire them, right? Because if they won't invest in themselves, you're wasting your time. But my logical self, after I think about it, says, well, you didn't find the motivator. It wasn't $2, right? Because I don't think, all right, so there's some crazy people in the world, right? There's just some people that don't make sense. I've met them in my life. I try to keep them out of my life when they start to come in, I try to push them away. And what is that in our population today? Is that 2%? Is that 3%? Is that 0.5%? let's say that, I don't know, let's say that 5% of the population is crazy. So 5% of the potential employees out there that come in my business maybe can't be motivated. They won't take the bait. Even if it was the right bait, they wouldn't take it, et cetera, et cetera. What about the other 95%? If they're not taking the bait, then the bait's the wrong bait, right? And so how do I show them that, so I have a great fear. I'm jumping around. I'm ADHD like everybody else in this industry. I have this great fear, and my fear is that the industry, the car, is going to outgrow us. So we have these cars that I used to work on that had points and condensers and carburetors. And for you
Distributor
young
caps.
people, yeah, for you young people, carburetors is how we got air and fuel in vehicles
Yeah.
and combustion engines a long
And
time
you had
ago.
to tune it.
Yeah. Um, but now the changes that are happening so rapidly in the vehicles. I mean, you have a big push for electric, and maybe the internal combustion, I think it's nuts, but maybe the internal combustion in 10 years it's a relic. It's a 65 Mustang. Um, but it's not a 2034 whatever, right?
Mhm.
And so the cars I worked on, I remember in 1982 when the very first computer systems came out. Computer controlled. It had one computer, had about 13 codes, and if and you shorted the computer and it would flash at you, and depending on what it flashed at you, if it flashed 7, that was a code 7. There were 13 codes, and code 13 was everything's okay according to the computer, so it's not us, right? And in 1982, and now you look at, say, a new car coming out today. What's the biggest problem with the manufacturers? They can't get enough chips because they've got 36 computer systems in this car, and each computer system has 36 subsystems in it.
Mhm.
And huh, I need a brain surgeon and a rocket engineer
And a
to
computer
work on a car
scientist,
today,
Yeah.
and a computer scientist to work
because
on a
there's
car today.
140 different lines of code. It's not 13 anymore. It's 140,000 lines
Lines of
of
code.
code.
Yeah. And what is it, 2000 trouble codes or whatever. I mean, it's in the thousands now. And I'm afraid that the vehicle outgrows us. Now, I'm not necessarily afraid for me because, I don't know, one of these days I'm going to retire. Hopefully not soon, so don't get worried, that you people out in the audience. But I'm going to retire, and it's going to push past me. It already has. That technology has pushed past me. Don't let me work on your car. You don't want that. Let me work on your business. You absolutely want that.
Mhm.
Um, but I have this fear, and I have this fear, like, if we can't motivate not just the people that work for us, but potential people out there to come into our industry, we're just not going to have people to work for us.
Yeah,
Um,
we got to
there,
attract them better.
there, there's only you know, there's only so many brake jobs that you can do. And by the way, I remember when we went through brakes about every 20,000 miles.
Yeah.
When they had non-metallic pads,
Mhm.
20,000 miles, 25,000 miles, you're putting a set of brakes on. Today, I would say on average, you're probably 40,000 miles. And now you talk electric cars, they don't wear out brake pads. So if I knew how to do
They
brakes
rust.
really well,
They rust
yeah, they
out brake
rust.
pads. They don't wear them out.
So it's a different. My dad and I a long time ago had this conversation. He was like, I'm worried, and what happens if they don't need mechanics? And I'm like, well, they'll always need somebody to fix transportation, right?
Mhm.
There's a great book by I think it's Heinlein, might be Asimov, science fiction writers. It's a short story called The Roads Will Roll, and it's the future, way in the future. And what it is there's roads, but they're like conveyor belts, and you get on the 5 mile road, and then you get on the 10 mile road, and the 20 mile road, and the 30 mile road, and you go where you got to go, and then you slow it, and you get off these roads, and there's engineers that keep the roads going, right? So there's no cars anymore. It's just this series of roads that you get on. And so there'll always need to be an engineer or somebody to keep the roads running, right? Even if that's the machine like Star Trek, where I just can't wait till we have the beam me up Scotty thing. Because
Yeah.
like if
Definitely.
I could be in New York in 3 seconds, beam me up, I'm going. Maybe not New York today, but a lot of places I'd love to
Yeah.
go get a nice dinner, Paris, oh my gosh, and then come back to home and sleep in my own bed.
These are the
Um,
dreams for sure.
but somebody would have to fix that, right? There's got to be a Scotty to pull the knob and make sure that the thing's working right, and the particle beam is doing its thing and going the right place, and the computers are doing their thing. And so I hope that we as an industry realize what a precarious position we're in right now, and how quickly the technology is moving, and how the different generations, they don't think like the older generation. And if we continue as an older generation, we continue to think like we think without having some flexibility, I don't think we solve the problem, right? I think we become extinct. I think we become dinosaurs that die out, and 2 million years from now they'll say, "Oh, look at those bones. Those are interesting. That was a Cecil Bullard. Um, yeah, that's an extinct thing. That guy, they're gone because they weren't smart enough, right?
Mhm.
We have to, yeah, we have to change, and we have to think differently. Uh, I think we need a conversation as an industry with the younger generation, deeply involved in that conversation about what do you want, what will fulfill you here,
What
and
will attract you?
can
Yep,
this industry fulfill you? Because if we can't, then we will lose in the long run.
for sure. And I think it is to be openly receptive on both ends, but definitely on the ownership side in terms of like I guarantee the expectations and the things that they want are going to seem absolutely ludicrous, and you're going to be like, what, excuse me, like what are you asking for? So wait, you
You want
didn't
Fridays
care
and
about money, but the
Saturdays
money
and
that you
Sundays
want is
off?
this, and the time off you want is this. So like, so then am I just going to be working but paying you to stay at home? Like what's going on here? So I think it's going to have to, like, yes, you got to hear the response and then together kind of whittle out. So I would love to hear maybe from you guys in terms of, like, I know we mentioned, hey, one bonus plan and one pay plan maybe is not the option. Maybe there should be 4 or 5 that they can choose from. Are there ideas from you guys on maybe what those 4 or 5 or whatever could
So
look like?
so whatever we do, we have to be profitable in our businesses so that
Mm-hmm.
we can provide. So, I did a class recently and someone filmed part of it, and I was talking about the fact that the average shop owner, all said and done, they make about 4% profit at the end of the year. Um, and somebody said, "Oh, that's BS," and that's crap. They've been telling us that for years, and that's not true. Well, it's absolutely true. So a business that's earning 4% net profit, now the owner may have a truck and gas and a motorcycle, and he may be taking a decent wage out of the business, but at the end of the day, there isn't any profit left. And profit is where you start to say, "Oh, I can give raises. I can give that guy an extra day off. I can." Um, I had a, I was in Provo at a shop, and they did these blue cards that were like discount cards. Don't do it, but they had done this thing where they had a company go sell discount cards, and then had to do the discount oil changes. And there was a like a 60-foot area where the customer would come in, and then the customer had to kind of walk across this, where the cars came through, and you watch the service advisor, and the service advisor, when someone came in and had a blue card in their hand, completely changed. They went from happy and everything to, "Oh, it's another son of a SOB with all those blue cards," right? And you could hear them even say it under their breath.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they talked to that potential client, they were like really short with them. "Okay, fine, yeah, we'll have this done later, and get out of my hair." That was it. And so we looked at the blue cards and what we sold last month on the blue cards, and we did, I don't know, it was 57 blue card oil changes in the shop, and we did not sell more than $200 worth of anything else to those clients.
Mm.
57 oil changes with $200 in real sales. Okay. So I knew that the service advisor had a girlfriend out of town in Denver. So he's in Provo. He wants to go to Denver. And I said, "Look, if you sell $10,000 worth of additional stuff to blue card customers, I'll give you a flight down to your girlfriend in Denver. I'll pay for the flight." What is at the time what was Southwest, $59, right? So I'll pay for the flight. And then I said, if you sell 12,000, I'll pay for the hotel room. So you have 2 nights. You can go in Friday night, Saturday, come back Sunday, and be at work at Monday. And so at the time, it was a hotel room, $60, $50. Okay. And then I said, if you sell 15,000, I'll give you Friday off. And so you can go for 3 days and be with your girlfriend. Right. And this guy I was probably in his mid-30s at the time. This is a few years back. Again, when I'm talking about $59 flights, everybody's going, well, that's a long time ago. No, it's probably 10 years ago, maybe, right? But anyway, so guess what we sold to Blue Card customers the next month? It was like almost $14,000 worth of stuff. We didn't hit 15, but it wasn't 200. So was it the Blue Card? Was it the customer? Was it the service advisor? And I think how that plays here is, if we have the attitude as owners that, when the guy comes to me and says, I want to make $100,000 a year, but I only want to work 30 hours a week, I can tell you what I'm going to think. Are you nuts? Right? Not here, dude. But we can't have that reaction. We have to say, is there a way for me to make that happen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And you can't give your employees anything if your company's not profitable. So make your company profitable, whatever you need to do. There's a lot of free education. There are all kinds of podcasts. We have a lot of free online education. We have paid education. There is paid education. There's lots of good coaches and consultants. If you don't like Cecil, I got a couple guys I could recommend to you. They're nicer than me. They're not as direct as me. So make sure that your business is profitable, because when you're talking to your employees and they say, well, we have to have health care, guess what? You got to provide health care. And guess who's really paying for that health care? Has to be the customer.
Mm-hmm.
It can't be out of my pocket. I don't have it. So make your business profitable and then have those conversations. I think recognition, you were talking about it, Kelsey, a little bit, and so was I. I think recognition for a job well done is important, and genuine recognition. And unfortunately, I think a lot of the older people, painting with a broad brush, their expectations are, well, if they're doing 60 hours a week, then that's a job well done. Because I used to be able to do 60, 65, 70 hours a week every week, and I don't understand why these guys can't do 60, 75 hours a week. A long time ago, I could do an alternator on a car in 10 minutes. It was on top. There was one plug. There was one bolt on the back where the ground was, or the whatever. And there was 2 bolts that you could take out. It literally took me 5 minutes. I could put an alternator in, and I could have an alternator checked out in the car, 15 minutes, car out in the driveway. Okay. And so now a car comes in, it needs it. And by the way, the alternator back then cost me $35, right? And so now an alternator, General Motors got a great idea in the 90s, and they put the alternator on the bottom of the engine behind the air conditioning. Excuse me, what? Now it's a 5-hour job. And so I think as older owners, we're like, well, I used to be able to do 75 hours a week. I don't understand why these guys can't do 75 hours a week. Well, it's a different job. It's a different business.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think there are very many alternators you can do in 15 minutes, right?
I'm just glad you didn't bring up generators.
Yeah,
you actually went to alternators, so that's good.
Yeah. Well, now we're talking generators, because that's literally what an electric engine is.
See,
electric
come
motor,
all the way back around.
It's a generator.
Come back around.
So yeah, yeah. Where we started is maybe where we end up. I don't know. So I think recognition and genuine recognition. But if I set the standard so high that they can't meet it because today's conditions are different,
yeah,
then they can't win. And if they can't win, they're not staying,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so I think, when so I come into a shop and I just talked to a guy today, brand new client, 44% productivity. These guys are doing less than 4 hours a day.
Wow.
And the first thing the person said was, well, they're not working hard on it. So whoa.
Mm-hmm.
Is your process right? Do they get estimates quickly? Do they get their parts right? Do you charge enough time? Et cetera. And after we talked about it, I spoke with this particular client almost an hour and a half today. And when we started talking about it, it was like, oh, we don't do that right. We don't do that right. We don't do that right. Productivity is not necessarily the employee. Productivity can be the shop and your process and how you do things and what you charge. I can't tell you how many hours get given away because we're afraid to charge a customer for diag, and we ask our tech to go ahead and do that diag, but they don't get credit for the time, and then we say they're not productive. Well, no, no crap, Batman. No expletive, Batman.
Yeah.
You know, you didn't put them in a position to be productive. And then we're like upset that they didn't, you know, they did 44%. Well, yeah, because you didn't do it right in your business. There are nuances that will help an employee be successful, make the business, the process right, and then the employee has the best chance of being successful. I can't tell you how many times I've watched a new employee come into a company. They sign the employee manual if the shop has one. The owner says, here's where your tools go. There's the rack. Here's your first job. Go to work. And then we're like amazed that they can't produce. Well, this guy told me he could do 100 hours a week. Well, of course he did. You know, you get a guy in an interview and you say, I want someone that can do 100 hours a week. You think he's going to tell you he does 30? Um, but but if you set them up for success because you create the right systems and process so they can be successful, now you can say, okay, now I'm going to walk back to the shop that's doing 44%. By the way, when those guys get to 60%, you know what I'm going to go do? I'm going to go out and say thank you. And I'm going to say, wow, you guys have really improved. Now, we're not quite where we need to be, but man, you've made great improvement, right? Now, what's the next thing that we need to do? How do we get where we need to go? And you walk them through step by step, piece by piece, and help them be successful. If you're running a business, I don't care what kind of business, and you're the owner and you're the manager, it's your job to make it so that your employees can be successful. Take every obstacle out of their way so that they have the best chance of being successful. And I guarantee you, 95% of those guys, those people, when I say guys, men and women, sorry, I'm not excluding women.
Yep.
I'm just an old guy and I'm used to saying guys.
Mm-hmm.
Those folks, when they 95% of them will succeed if you put them in a position to succeed. Nobody wants to fail. Nobody walks into a job and says, you know what, I think I want to be miserable for 6 months while I try to fail here. And so create the way for them to win. Make sure that you're helping them understand when they're winning and what winning looks like, and then figure out what is their turn on. If you want a mountain bike, I just soon get you a mountain bike than give you a raise. If you want a better health plan, then instead of giving you a raise, let's give you a better health plan.
Mm-hmm.
If you want an extra day off every couple of weeks, you know what? I ought to arrange my business so that I can give employees time off. Because if the younger generation wants more time off to fulfill their personal desires as opposed to their business desires, heck, most of the younger generation that I know of, they don't have a lot of business desires. The only reason they're going to a job is so they can make money, so they can have a personal life,
mm-hmm.
right? And if that's what's important to them, maybe we better figure out how to do that and give that to them. And I don't know, maybe I'm never able to pay somebody $100,000 a year for doing 30 hours a week. But if that's where it's all going, better figure out how to do that.
Absolutely.
Right?
And to that point, Cecil, it could be that 30-hour work week produces 40 hours, 50 hours, 60 hours. So what is it that motivates that employee? Maybe that motivation is a game pod, and I'm making up words. I don't even know what I'm saying, but a video gaming game pod where surround sound, vibrating seats, it's a full body experience of whatever's happening in the game. Maybe they're motivated by that first person shooter game, and that's where you can step in to motivate to say, okay, you want a 30-hour work week, give me 40 hours of your 30 out of your 30, and then we'll have this game pod that we can have game nights. Why is that important? It's not important to me. It's not important to Cecil, but to some guys, They live and die by that video game. So now it's important to me. Now
But
it's
we
important to Cecil.
but we also have to think about how we bill and how we invoice. I think in the old days, God, I hate saying that, but okay, I'm old. In the old days, you could charge an hour for this, and that kind of included everything, and the job got done in half an hour, and you still made money, and the employee still. And I think today, if you're not using like a labor matrix, you're not accounting for the test drive and the paperwork, and because the paperwork's more complicated. I can tell you, 10 years ago, there were very few technicians that were writing descriptions of what they'd done on the car for the customer. And now, in, I don't know, 60, 70% of the shops that we work with, the tech is the one creating the description of what they did. They're writing out 2 paragraphs or 3 paragraphs that they
Yeah.
never used to write out. It used to be the service advisor that did all that. And today, we've asked them to do other things, and we're not charging the customer for that time. I always thought, book time was book time. And today there's no book. I get that. It's not in a book, but it used to be. We used to have a book that was
Guideline.
American Cars and Trucks, one book, and it was the guideline for all the labor on everything. And now it's all online. But the way that book time is determined is they have a brand new car in a bay, all the tools are laid out, all the parts are there, and they tell the guy, okay, we want you to replace the water pump, and they time them. Okay. And the guy replaces the water pump. And it took him an hour and 10 minutes. And then they go, okay, do it again. And then he does it again. And that's only an hour. And then he does it again and he does it again and he does it again. They have him do it 10, 15 times. They average the times. And then they go, well, that was 6 tenths. Okay. So, okay, you get 6 tenths for doing that job. That's now book time. But it's already in a bay. The bay's clean. The tools are all laid out. The parts are all there. The car doesn't get test driven. There's no paperwork to write up other than I'm done, right? And so none of that was included in book time. And now we're asking guys to, I don't know how many shops actually ask their guys to do a digital vehicle inspection. And
All
then
of
they
them.
don't pay the guy for the 45 minutes that it took him to do a DVI.
Yep.
And then you're going, well, he's not very productive. Well, yeah, he did 4 DVIs today that you didn't pay him for. That's almost 4 hours of his time. So how do we figure that out? How do we, charge the customer for that?
Exactly.
Maybe there's a minimum charge. You come in the shop, there's a minimum charge. 1 hour, it's a minimum.
A setup
Or-
fee.
I honestly think they should so I mean, we just moved into a new home, and if the AC, we need to get the AC checked, and even if it's a 30-minute repair, easy $250 bill that comes through. And that's just the AC. AC is a part of a car. That's something that's regularly done so many different ways within a car. So I don't understand why the industry has to be,
we're afraid
our labor rate's only going to be like 120 on average.
We're afraid to charge because the guy down the street is not charging.
Yeah.
Just today, I've got a shop that was recommended to us by one of the other podcasts. Sorry, but
no competition here.
the customer is talking to me just today, and she's not charging for a bunch of things that the tech is doing, and you're like, and your techs aren't productive. Okay, and she says, well, how do I set my price? She says, should I call around? How do I determine? It doesn't matter what anyone else is charging. It matters what you need to charge to make the profit that you need and pay the people the way you need to pay them. And I know that's simplistic, and somebody out there's like, yeah, Cecil, you don't understand real life. Look at me. I've got 14 employees. I understand real life. I know, and every time I raise my prices, guess who screams at me? Every one of my clients, right?
Mm-hmm.
But our costs have gone up. Our cost of hotel rooms and meals and what we do have gone up. The cost of Zoom has gone up. The cost of internet use, it's all gone up. If I don't raise my prices, I go broke. Do you want me broke, or do you want me here helping you? Right? What do you want?
Mm-hmm.
And so we have this idea that there's somebody down the street that's doing it for $100. I got to do it for $100. Well, there's always going to be some guy working out of his house, or some guy whose grandpa had the property that gives him the property that doesn't pay himself rent, that's willing to do it for less. I can't do it for that, and I just went to the dentist. I just had 4 new caps put in, my teeth gone through, cavities fixed, a bunch of stuff. I spent over 10 grand. Do you think I tried to find the cheapest dentist in town? Or do you think I tried to find the best dentist in town? Right?
Yep.
Well, of course I wanted the best dentist. I don't want my teeth falling out. I want to be able to use my teeth for a bit longer.
Mhm.
There is somebody for everybody, meaning remember, I don't know if you remember, you ever watched that thing where they had lowered expectations and they had like the two kind of maybe not the prettiest people, and it was like a dating service for people that aren't the prettiest people, and it was lowered expectations. There's somebody for everybody, right? And I mean that on the customer side, meaning that there's a shop for every person out there. There are discount shops for discount people.
There's a Jack for every Jill.
Right. There's also quality shops for quality people, and who charge and are willing to pay, who charge a good premium and are willing to pay a good premium. You have to decide who you are. It's part of your, while I'm creating my mission statement and my foundational principles and trying to figure out what the culture is I want in my business, it also applies to the kind of customers that I want to work on, the cars I want to work on, the kind of customers I want to work with, which would then help dictate my pricing, which would then help me understand my value so that I could sell that to those customers and market to those customers that are more likely to pay for that.
Mm-hmm.
So that it's this whole big thing, but we got to be successful in order to take care of our people. And I think we have to learn not to judge or not to say no as our first response. My dad, if you went and asked my dad anything, the first response was always no. Hey, Dad, I need this. Nope, no, 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 no. But after a few days, you let him stew on it, let him think about it, and then you said, "Hey, what do you think?" Maybe 60% of the time he said yes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we need to stew on it a bit. We need to figure out how we do it and figure out what it is that these younger people that are now, they're the staff that I need, right? They're the people I need for my business. How do I help them be the most successful and achieve what they want? Because then that helps me get what I need. That's what we got to do.
Absolutely. So listen, I think listening and then serving, the rest kind of takes care of itself. And then happy employees. I mean, would a customer want to come to a shop where everyone's really happy and thus that'll resonate with them, or everyone's just sulking around, pissed off? Why am I here? More than likely, the service is going to be night and day difference. So.
I have been in shops where the service advisor, as a customer, where the service advisor is telling me why this is not a good shop for me to be at. Just literally, ripping on the whole shop. And so I also know this from working with over 1,000 successful shops. A good service advisor, a good front person in your business can make all the difference in the world. We got a call from a business who was ready to close his doors, and his business used to do 100,000, 120,000 a month, and in the last 6 months, they had some health issues, and so the owners were not necessarily in the business. They had a guy that was kind of running the business for them, and now the business is doing 16,000 a month, 20,000 a month in their best month, and they can't figure out why their phone's not ringing, right? And so I'm like, geez, I don't know. You had a great reputation. You look online, the reputation's good. Their history's really good. In the last 6 months, it just completely fell off. Like maybe they did raise their price too high, and everybody said, "Oh my God, they're too expensive." But when we started listening to phone calls from the guy that was supposed to be running the shop, the phone calls were horrible. I mean, and I mean, no, they're not here. No, they've been pushed out of the business. This is how it is. And I called them and I said, we have two choices. Either you turn that guy around yesterday, and by the way, if you do, you're in trouble because he's got a bunch of people that have come in that don't like him, or you fire him and you get going. And so we had this, heart-to-heart conversation. They actually terminated the guy Monday morning. We had a conversation on Sunday. Now, I don't do that all the time. This was a desperate situation.
Mm-hmm.
And they fired the guy Monday morning, and they brought in this young gal who doesn't necessarily know how to write service, but she's a friendly face and everything. and they just did like 90,000 last month from doing 15,000. So, and it's the difference of the person and their attitude. So don't tell me that unhappy employees make happy customers, because I'll tell you, I'll call you a liar. Happy employees make happy customers. And if you got happy customers, I mean, there probably is a limit to what you can charge. I've just never found it. We have shops right now that are $240, $250 an hour. Now they're in some parts of the country where they need to be that. But we have if you looked at all of our shops and you said, you know, what's the average labor rate? Autoleap just did a survey, and they found out the average labor rate was something like, I don't know, it was under $120 an hour in the United States. And I'm like, holy crud. If you did my clients and you looked at average labor rate, we're probably somewhere around 160 as an average labor rate from all my clients. So we are 30-40% above the industry, right? The average. And yet my clients are earning an average of 18% out the bottom of their business and paying themselves a good salary. And they have 99.97% customer satisfaction. So, you know, what you charge is not necessarily an issue if you deliver unbelievable customer service to your client. And the right people will pay the right price. All right, that's enough. I could go on. We could talk for like.
Well, I mean,
years.
I think this has been a very, very productive conversation. Thank you so much, Cecil and Jimmy, for coming on with me today. For those of that are still listening and very interested, maybe, hey, actually, I would love some personal insight on my business and how you could possibly help. What would be the best way to reach out to you guys?
Jimmy?
The best way to reach out is to go to wearetheinstitute.com. wearetheinstitute.com. Click on contact us, set up an appointment. We'd love to meet together, talk about your shop, talk about your challenges that you're having in your business. We'll even do an analysis of your business to see, this is where you are. Hold up a mirror so you can see where you are, but this is what you could be, and this is what you should be. And those are three different scenarios of where you are today, where you want to be, and where you could be. We'd love to sit down with you and talk about that at wearetheinstitute.com.
And we also promise you that we are not going to put you on our list and call you every 3 days. We just don't do that. In fact, my biggest complaint from my employees, especially my sales people, is that I don't push the company enough. We'll do a complimentary evaluation of your business. We'll give you 1 or 2 things to do. You can then say, oh, we love you, or you can say, let me think about it, or you can go home and do those 2 things and then find out if they help you. I would also say what you want to do is go to, I don't know where, I think it's Gear for Shop. Where do I get the 5 steps to increase profit?
Gearforshops.com. Sign up for the Gear Network, the 5 steps to profit. A phenomenal webinar that Cecil did here a couple weeks ago. Really goes into, makes it easy for you to understand what steps you need to take in your shop to get to that profitability.
And if you just do 1 or 2 of those and you just do them halfway, I guarantee you that you'll increase your profit by 5%.
Oh, yeah,
So,
absolutely.
Easy.
Yeah,
Easy
definitely.
peasy.
And if you do not have a coach, if you're on here listening, you do not have a coach, please take advantage of these free resources here. Like,
yeah, and if you say to yourself, I really want a coach, but I don't like Cecil or I don't like the Institute, call me anyway, or contact us anyway and say, who else would you recommend? There's guys I would recommend.
Yeah, but I think coach is a no-brainer. Changes. You're never too good to have a coach, never. And so
I have one.
Yourself and make sure
I have one, and all my key employees have one. So, yep.
All right. I do as well. Well, all right, guys. Thank you so much for coming on with me. Thank you all for listening. This is Lift Your Shop podcast. Kelsey, Lift Auto Repair Marketing. Thank you again. See you guys soon.
Big love, brother.